Ann, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, October 14th Planning, Energy, and Environmental Quality Committee. And we have a quorum here in the chambers. Legislator Greg Mezey has asked to be excused for today. And you might notice the lights are a little dim. And no, we are not getting ready for a Halloween edition of this committee because I didn't think that far ahead. But we are having some technical difficulties with the lights and also the cameras. So for the cameras here in chambers, the Zoom is working fine, so we can see folks on Zoom. But there's just going to be one camera, so you won't see close-ups of us today. So did you have your hand up or just waving? Just waving? Okay, so we're way over here. So, do we have any public comment today, Taylor? So no public comment. And then changes to the agenda. This is not a change, but I just wanted to remind folks down at the end, we have executive session today regarding discussions on proposed pending or current litigation with the NYSEG rate case. And I appreciate our attorney, Maury Josephson, being here today with us. And let's see, any other proposed changes to the agenda? Excuse me. We do have a packed agenda, so I'm going to try to keep people moving right along today. So next is minutes approval. These are from September 5th, 2025. And that is moved by Rich, seconded by Amanda. Any discussion? All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thanks, everybody. I had a question. It wasn't that the minutes, needed to be edited, but I just saw that, Rich, it said you had commented that the Industrial Development Agency restriction on power included the TerraWolf infrastructure project. Do you remember? Can you refresh me on what that was? Because I know Lansing's town board is talking about it.
I was going from memory, but when the IDA, actually, was it the IDA or the Development Corporation? I believe it was the IDA, assisted with the cost of broadband service utilizing the infrastructure poles to serve that part of the county, and it would go all the way to the power plant, that we put in a restriction that it would not be used for Bitcoin. So right. It did not include any restriction on a data center, but what might be done there would not be Bitcoin processing.
Okay, thank you.
Mining, I guess, is the term they like.
Bitcoin mining, right. And next we have some advisory board appointments. We have two sets here. We have new advisory board appointments, and then we have advisory board reappointments, and these are both for 2026. So let me read these. I'm going to read them all together if that's okay. Or actually, I'll have somebody move them. If it's okay, we'll move them all together. Rich moves them, seconded by Veronica. So this is for the first one is for the County Planning Advisory Board, Tom Knipe, who is now a county employee, and he is the transportation representative. And then for the also for the County Planning Advisory Board, these are the reappointments: David Herrick, Infrastructure Utilities Representative; Christine O'Malley, Cultural Historical Preservation Representative; David Kay, Local Urban Planning Representative; and Jordan Decker, Energy Representative. So any discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, everybody. And thanks to all these great folks for volunteering to serve on this board. And next we have the County Administrator's Report. I see Norma Jane here today. Hi, Norma. Do you have any updates for us?
I do not have any updates for the committee today.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
And next we have many things from the Department of Planning and Sustainability. And so the first thing on the agenda is on packet page 7, and that is natural resources and agricultural work in the Department of Planning and Sustainability. And we have from our planning department, Darby Kiley, and Abigail Connor here. So, well, we have more people, but I think you two are speaking on this topic. So
We're gonna keep it.
take it
Chris.
away.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. So Darby, Kylie, and myself, Abigail Connor, are here to just give you a brief overview of the natural resources and agricultural work we do in the Department of Planning and Sustainability. So you'll see here the items kind of listed out are the concentrations in those two sections of that work off of our work program this year that fall under natural resources and agricultural work. The items in italics are what we'll dive into a little deeper today, but we'll touch on that whole list before we're through here.
Okay.
Every 5 years, we follow the land policy and do an update to the county-owned land inventory. And that happens to be happening this year in 2025. We just start collecting the data in the summer after the new tax rolls are out. So that's a work in progress. And so that document lists all the land that we own, the assessed values, the uses, that kind of thing. And so I'll be bringing that to government operations at their December meeting. So if you want to know more about that, you can tune into that meeting. Next. Also wanted to give a quick report on the unique natural areas. This is a report that was developed as far back as the 70s with a grad student who put together a report and has been an ongoing project of the Environmental Management Council. And every few years, we need to do some updatings for a variety of reasons, usually related to boundary changes. So in the last few years, we've been working with consultants to update the boundaries. And then also we have a botanist who goes out and looks at plants on site so we can document what the conditions are. So it's a database that dates back to the turn of the century. And so we've had help making changes there, but we figured it out. And we're just thinking about how to, in the next iteration, make this more user-friendly, but we've sent this out as there are GIS files, mapping files, and then the actual inventory, which is 752 pages long with all these UNAs in it. So that has been sent out to the municipalities within the last week.
And so another piece that I'll dive into is the work we do with agricultural conservation easements. So between 2006 and 2011, the county participated in this state-funded program where our department accessed it's called Farmland Protection and Implementation Grant Funds to permanently preserve 5 farms. Well, it's 3 farms technically, but in Tompkins County. And through that process, it's called the purchase of development rights. So we purchased their rights to develop that land, so it will remain in agriculture in perpetuity. We have 3 easements co-held in the town of Dryden, so we hold that with the town of Dryden. 1 in the town of Lansing, and 1 that has now been subdivided 3 times. So it's 3 owners. That is, we solely hold in the town of Lansing. So what comes with those is we have annual visits we need to go out and do to ensure that they haven't infringed on those development rights that we have purchased. So we do outreach, we go out and visit, we prepare maps, and we communicate with those folks. We have monitoring that we go through, we bring those to Maury and get those reviewed, and then we file those. Some of those have some pieces that connect with the USDA and NRCS. We file those with those folks as well. Happy to report that there are no violations this year. And with that, in these monitoring reports, so at the start of a conservation easement, you do what's called a baseline, which helps you understand the status of the farm in that moment, so that if you needed to pursue a violation, you had backup to show this is what it looked like when we were there. We know there was an additional barn, or there wasn't a, I don't know, apartment building on that, that piece of farmland. So for some of these, we've hit the timeline where it's time to update those baselines. And that we had to do that for 2 farms this year. So we monitored and collected data on approximately 1,300 acres over the summer. Thanks to funding from the legislature, we had a project assistant, a Cornell graduate student, who was with us for 320 hours, which helped extremely with the work. It really helped move things along, and she couldn't be here today. She has class, but she really enjoyed the process and absolutely learned a lot. And one big piece that I kind of wanted to feature here is something that we had that was different than 10, 15 years ago, is we're really trying to lean into technology. So you can see these little yellow dots on the screenshot there. Those are the points we had to go to on that farm. And in the past, they were just trying to figure out the GPS coordinates, and we used ArcGIS field maps and kind of built a program for ourselves that helped us go in there and get all of that logged into the cloud. So it really cut down on the work time. And the exciting piece is with some help from Rob, we're hoping at Leaf Off to go out and fly some drone footage and do some comparison of if we should be walking 1,300 acres of land, or some technology can maybe help us out with a little bit of that. And our project assistant has decided that she would like to use that comparison as her exit project. And hopefully with that, we can work with her and kind of understand and see what the pros and cons are there. And with the hope that we can distribute that to we only have 5 of these, our surrounding agencies hold a lot more. So that can help them with the work that they do as well.
And Abigail, I was just going to say, if there's maybe a quick question, if we can interrupt you, otherwise we'll try and hold questions till the end. Rich?
I was just, what are the incentives for farmers to put their land into these?
They get a lump sum for the development rights.
Is that per acre,
Usually it is, it depends.
calculated for each one?
It's calculated for each one differently, depending on the quality of the soils. If there's any kind of environmental or stream protection that can happen as well. But that happens at the ag and markets level. They make those determinations.
And this is separate from the tax breaks they get through being in an ag district?
Yeah, so the difference here is for that, they need to have, what is it, $1,000 in sales, and some other pieces. Assessment could speak better to that. But for this, they're selling in a one go, they're selling their rights to develop that property.
And you mentioned there's others besides these that the county owns. Are they owned by towns?
No, typically they are owned by a land trust.
Okay.
So like the Finger Lakes Land Trust holds a few for sure. The New York Ag Land Trust, who's more in the Syracuse area, is delving in over here. So the FPIG money is still money, that state money that we access for these still stands. And typically the southern tier money, which we fall into there, goes untouched. So there's agencies looking to get access to those funds.
I just suggest when the maps are interesting and helpful in your inventory, it might be useful to do an inventory map for all of these, not just county, but all of them. So we'd be able to see.
Yeah, sounds
which
great.
is Preserved. Thanks.
So just to hit these unitalicized items briefly. We also, under natural resources, have the Natural Infrastructure Capital Program. You guys have seen those projects come through. Most recently, we saw Sage Preserve. That is a county capital program with guidelines approved by this committee that helps permanently preserve properties. And so sometimes they are doing conservation easements, just to tie that together. We also host the Tompkins County Conservation Partners. That's a group of conservation folks throughout the county that's extended to anyone doing conservation work. We meet twice a year just to kind of have a space for them to share ideas and talk about work that they're doing in the county.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention, we have the Tompkins County Parks and Trails Network, which is a group of trail enthusiasts that meets twice a year. So we coordinate that group and they talk about topics of interest they worked on or provide comments on the trail strategy that was adopted a couple of years ago. And so just a good group to meet. And so we'll be coming up with a meeting later in December. So there's that. Next bullet point is just keeping on the natural resources theme, we do provide staff support to the Environmental Management Council. You know, we also under our Watershed are actually on the Water Resources Council. I hold that seat, but we don't have a voting seat on the EMC. We just staff that, mostly with the UNA inventory has been the bulk of the work we do there.
Yeah, and so tying in with advisory boards, we also have an ex officio seat on the Ag Farm Land Protection Board, which I sit in for. So I go to those meetings and help advise them on some of the work that happens there. As a piece of that, they are interested because folks like the New York Ag Land Trust and the Finger Lakes Land Trust are interested in purchase of development rights and accessing those state funds. The Ag Farmland Protection Board has chosen to revamp the purchase of development rights program, which helps farmers access that to get those funds. And I provide the mapping and technical support for those pre-applications for that program. That was fast, Darby.
Great. Any questions? Amanda?
I should probably know this after all these years, but do other counties do the UNA project? That's just we just do that.
We just do that. A lot of counties have been doing just a natural areas inventory. No, what's it?
Natural resources.
Natural resources inventory. So that's, it's an item in the Climate Smart Communities program, so they can do that. So yeah, but theirs might not involve a botanist having gone out to site or a geologist studying things. So we really have this background resource. I mean, a number of the UNAs are wetlands that have already been mapped by other agencies, and so those get pulled in. But in terms of some other uniqueness places, unless it's documented in some other way, then yeah, other counties wouldn't necessarily have that.
Well, I'm grateful that our county has that and updates that regularly. And then my only other comment was, I mean, thank you for all of this, and that this would be a great presentation in the new year with the new legislators.
Or they could watch the recording.
Or they could just watch the
Okay,
recording.
thanks.
I was just going to say, I'm going to send out a link to them to watch this, right?
Better.
Because, well, I don't, and maybe I didn't say this to Amanda before, but we, you know, in conversations with the planning department, you know, earlier on in the summer, I guess it's fall now, but yeah, kind of trying to be fall. So was that there would be these presentations to help them get ready, to also to educate us and for the legislators who are going to be staying probably. And yeah, so I'll send, I've been sending some links out so they can keep updated. Any other questions or suggestions? Thank you for all these updates, and it's really amazing when you come and tell us the breadth of what you're doing. So thank you for all the great work you're doing. And is there anything that any requests of us for ways that us or other legislators in the coming year could help support you?
I think not at this time, but we're happy to give presentations on any of this stuff again and bring anything back. So this does feature our work program for this year, kind of as a little bit of a closeout, and that will probably change a little bit for next year as well.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And then we have Haley and Terry are going to do the next presentation. And this is the 2025 Tompkins County Community Energy Sustainability Work Presentation. Right? Terry, are you coming up? Or-
It's just me solo.
Oh,
I'm gonna
I
talk
had down
about,
both of you. Okay.
that's okay. I'm gonna talk
Haley,
about
that's fine.
community energy sustainability work. So first I'll talk about the Business Energy Advisor Program. So we received a grant award for 2025 and 2026 in the amount of $108,000 from the Park Foundation. With this program, we provide technical assistance to new construction and major renovation projects in the county. It's been a bit of a slow year. We've had 3 projects come through. I will say we launched a new contract with some new contractors. And that took a good part of the first part of the year. And then kind of in conjunction with the Park Foundation's BDF is Building Decarbonization Fund, their program. We expanded our nonprofit offerings so that, because we were finding a lot of nonprofits would be like, I need a new heating system, I need it stat. How can I compare quickly? And so we expanded the Business Energy Advisors program to include kind of those bid review projects. We also, with funding that we won through a program I'll explain a little bit later called Clean Energy Communities, we got $30,000 to do a pilot induction cooktop program. That's been running in conjunction with Whole Health through their Healthy Neighborhoods program. And so the latest numbers as of last week are we've handed out 95 induction cooktops and their compatible cookware. And then we're also working to collect survey responses for those folks who have received the cooktops. We're trying to do it staggered, so we want folks to have had them for about 6 months so that we can get a true representation of how it's been going. But so far, we have 23 survey responses back. So looking forward to getting more results there. Something kind of cool that Healthy Neighborhoods was able to share with me are some of these really cool anecdotes. I won't read them all, but I would encourage you to go back and check them out. But this first one is, I can now have my propane tank removed since I only use it for cooking. This will be so helpful. We had a kitchen fire last week due to the gas stove. Thank you so much. This will help reduce or will help with reducing asthma triggers. So some really cool feedback we've seen so far. A couple weeks ago, with money from the legislature for this year, we hosted a 2025 Sustainability Conference. We did that at the Downtown Conference Center. We had 28 folks come out, and that was from 22 municipalities around the state. We've been meeting as like an ad hoc group every month to just share sustainability ideas and challenges and kind of try to workshop. So it was really nice to get together as a group in person. We had some presentations from Cornell. They talked about the crowd initiative. We had the Park Foundation come in. And then there was also lots of opportunity for peer learning. So communities were able to highlight programs that they were proud of and could be replicated in other areas. We also work on the greenhouse gas inventories. These are completed every 5 years. We're currently working on the one for 2024, which will be the next iteration. And so we do this for both the community greenhouse gas inventory and also for government operations. You might remember at the end of last year, I released a survey about employee commutes. And so we did an inventory for that, which will get rolled into the government operations inventory. But I believe next month we'll go into a little bit more detail about all of those. For proceedings and plans, you may know we sit on the NYSEG and RG&E rate case as parties to the case. And so we are trying to advocate for the county and county residents in that. It's a huge lift, not easy to participate in, but we're trying. And then we also will write comments on draft plans or important proceedings. And so a couple of examples from this year are the EPA endangerment filing. We wrote comments from the department, and then the draft state energy plan. And so those went out last week. So just, for example, for the state energy plan, one of our biggest kind of critiques of that plan is that it didn't include a funding mechanism to implement the CLCPA. And so that's something that we would come in and say, hey, how are we going to pay for this? So things like that. Next, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but we participate in several different levels of sustainability peer networking. So on the national level, ICLEI has a county climate and sustainability solutions exchange. So this is counties from across the country. We get together and discuss challenges and ways that we can either get things done and maybe how try to replicate successes in other areas. And then similarly, like all the way down. So state.
Haley, can I ask you to, for the ICLEI and other ones, can you say what they are?
Yes, so ICLEI actually doesn't stand for anything. It
Oh.
used to, but it is a national organization. It used to be for cities, but now they've broadened it to multiple different municipalities. But this is a membership organization that we pay to be a part of. And they have a technology called ClearPath that actually helps us with our greenhouse gas inventories. So yeah, ICLEI doesn't, it's just ICLEI.
What did
Yes.
ICLEI used to be?
That's a great question. I
Something
don't know.
cities?
Well, International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives.
Yeah, okay.
And they couldn't use that?
They
Call
don't.
themselves that.
Now they call themselves ICLEI
Ju-
USA. That's
just-
what they say all the time.
Okay.
And then at the state level, we participate in New York MOS, which is the New York Meeting of Sustainability Staff, MOS. And so that's that ad hoc group that we were able to bring together to town for the sustainability conference. And so we meet monthly. And then regionally, there's ST8, which is the Regional Planning Board or Commission, and they have a sustainability subset, and so we meet with them. And then locally,
Southern tier.
Right.
yep,
Southern
Southern
tier.
Tier 8, yep. And then locally, we have the Sustainability Practitioners Meeting, which is a meeting that I organize, and that has folks from NYSEG, Cornell, Ithaca, some of the local municipalities, and we just get together and share challenges and kind of workarounds. And yeah, it's nice to meet
Haven't
with.
developed a weird acronym for that yet?
We do not have an acronym for us
Okay.
yet.
Maybe next
Maybe
week.
that'll be on my to-do list.
Sure.
Next, we have our EV charging as a service. So a long time ago, I released an RFP with a bunch of sites that were kind of primed in the county for EV charging stations. This is a photo rendering from what's actually going to be installed up behind the fuel depot up at the airport. And so these should be going in soon-ish. It's in review with NYSEG. And so we're really excited. These are going to be fast chargers that will be networked. So folks can, when they're traveling, they can come in, charge, and we get 5% revenue sharing to the airport. So super excited about that.
And these are this location you don't have to pay to park, right?
Right.
Outside the
Yes. So
parking
we initially wanted them to be in the, like, right outside the airport. But there were transmission issues. So it was going to be like a huge amount of money for updates. And the greatest thing about this is that these are free to the county. We don't own them. So we're just providing the spot. But we have to pay no maintenance. They're completely metered separate. So they're on their own electric. We just get the benefit of 5% revenue.
Is there anything around these? Is that the public safety building?
Yes.
So fast charging, how long does that take? Is it like half an hour?
So it depends
Depends on
on
the
where you're
car.
going. I was coming back from a trip this weekend. We stopped for 20 minutes to charge, and that was a 5-hour drive.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's no real amenities here, which is not great. But we didn't have to do any updates with NYSEG, so there's that.
And is there 3-phase power? What was advantageous about putting them here?
This is a Terry question.
Yeah, there's a transformer that's right next to it, which made it the most amenable site. So the actual cost of interconnection is pretty cheap. And on the not having amenities, the actual charging company told us that what they've found in their research is that most people actually aren't even leaving their cars when they're charging. They're just sitting in there watching something on their phone.
Or TV screen.
But in terms
What's
of,
that?
All right. the legislature, please, Darby?
Come up to the mic, Darby. No?
He wants a porta potty.
Ah,
In terms of the power though, is it the same power as out on the street here downtown?
Is it the same power?
Yeah, is it,
Yeah,
so it's not a high voltage?
You're looking like,
Go ahead.
this is probably 150, 250, probably 250 kilowatt.
Yeah.
So
it's probably like a 400 amp transformer that they've plugged into. So I mean, they need some power, but it's not, it's not going to require a new DC high voltage line.
you could have them outside the building here, for instance.
Okay, thanks.
Next, clean energy communities and climate smart communities. So last year, we redid our climate smart communities certification. We have a nice plaque hanging up over there. We are silver certified, which is the top, and we actually had the most amount of points for any county in the state. So, and that's good through April 24th of 2029. So we just kind of keep an eye on that and update as needed.
Congratulations.
Then for clean energy communities, this is another program through the state. There's nothing really happening right now. We're told 3.0 is coming out, so we'll keep an eye on that. And there are different action levels that we can submit deliverables for, and then that can be kind of related to money, usually with the Clean Energy Communities program. Climate Smart is just for like the badge. And so the two programs that come out of this are the induction cooktop. We won a $30,000 grant, and then the solar canopies at Whole Health, which we won an $825,000 grant for the actions that we completed through that. Next, we staff the Climate and Sustainability Energy Board. So we regularly participate in their monthly meetings. We provide updates on our work. And then once in a while, we'll do a in-depth topic presentation to just share expertise, or we'll look for them for feedback before coming to the ledge. So we use them as a resource to bounce ideas off of. And that's it. You can take questions.
Any questions for Haley? Megan?
I just wanted to take a second because there was a lot in the presentation to thank you all for your support of the Sustainability Conference. As Haley said, we had an informal meet and greet the night before the conference launched, and the amount of gratitude from all of these municipal partners, recognizing last year was not an easy budget year for 2025. And you all, that our legislature supported that event and brought people together in person. We kind of had to finally kind of put a pin in the gratitude so we could get to the work. That's how meaningful it was for all of these people to finally actually get to, collaborate in person. And we're hopeful that another local government is going to pick up the mantle and keep that going so we can kind of pass that baton. So thank you all for all of that work. And also to Haley and to Terry for all the organizing. I think it had a lot of impacts, and that we'll see more as we go forward.
Great, thank you for letting us know that. It's important to get the feedback, and thank you all for doing all the organizational work that it took to do that. So thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you
you.
very much. And let's see. And next, I believe Abigail, are you up next? And so there's, you're going to give us a little summary about all of it, but we have 4 resolutions coming up regarding snowmobile trails. But why don't you give us an overview of what's going on this year?
Yeah, so I'll give a bit of an overview of the program, because what we're dealing with this year is a little different than you've dealt with, at least in my time being here. So we were hoping that there is one trail who is one club, snowmobile club, that's requesting changes. They're hoping to be able to make it today, but they do send their regrets. There was a last minute scheduling issue that they couldn't make it. But for a description of this program, so the Snowmobile Trail Grant Program is a New York State Parks and Recreation Office program. So the state makes the decisions on whether the local snowmobile clubs can have trails permitted or not. but those local snowmobile clubs need a local sponsor. And that local sponsor has been Tompkins County since 1998. The role of the local sponsor is to put together the application, coordinate that, send out the money, be the pass-through for the money, and if there are any changes or reroutes, to do the environmental review. Typically, an environmental review would also be paired with the action, but the state takes the action on these trails.
Did you say that we do, so the local, you really, do the application, not the snowmobile
The
club?
snowmobile clubs do the application, so
Oh, I
we
thought you said
coordinate, we pull it all
coordinate, but
together.
they have to-
Yeah,
yeah, they're
technically
supposed
the
to fill it.
application comes from us. We have to make the packet. That is our responsibility
Okay.
because they don't want to talk. I would assume they don't want to talk to 10 clubs. They want to just hear from one person in each county.
Okay.
But so that includes the doing an environmental review of any reroutes or new trails for the state then to consider when they make the final decision on a snowmobile trail in the county. I will say we had some outstanding questions about this program this year, and we brought those forward to Maury, and he reviewed that to ensure there was no additional liability that would be put on the county through this program, kind of keeping it as the pass-through that we've understood. And he's working on some language for us to just include in the contracts that we have with the snowmobile clubs to ensure that that stays as it has. So thanks for that, Maury. So it is a little bit of a complicated grant program. There are 3 phases of it. Our department handles that. But so it really is that the state chooses to fund or not fund a trail. The money comes through our department. We send that out to clubs. Every 3 years, snowmobile clubs need to update their GPSing of their trails. So they need to ride a snowmobile or walk or do something to show us where the trail is. We then compare that to existing data. If there are no changes or reroutes, the state requires nothing additional. In terms of approving a trail, that trail stays approved. They do need to complete annually landowner permission forms, their budget forms, and equipment summaries, because the funding that they're getting from the state is for maintenance of those trails. The concept of the program is to have a safer place for folks to be riding those snowmobiles. What we are seeing this year is the Tompkins or the Dryden Caroline Drifters Snowmobile Club has some reroutes due to landowner permissions. And because of that, we needed to do an environmental review. I will note that we had asked for an extension of that because we were reviewing the program with Maury. So we are a bit behind on the state's timeline, but they have been patient with us on this. Just making sure, going through here. In the past, when we've seen these environmental reviews, we have attached them as environmental reviews are often seen here before the legislature with a action resolution. But since there is no action for us to take, I worked with Taylor and Katrina and Maury just to make sure that these standalone negative declarations would work. And they note at the bottom that if we are to receive funding, that we'll get a resolution for that. We'll bring that through probably in January if trails are approved and funding is approved. This is a better and clearer process just across the board.
Although it might sound a little confusing to us, but, and
I
thank you
promise.
for taking time to explain it to Veronica and I separately, because it is kind of complicated.
Yeah, and so there has not been a new trail or a trail reroute in Tompkins County since 2021, which is why we have not seen the program in this way before the committee. You've only seen me come forward with accepting the trail grant monies typically in January. And just for folks' knowledge, on average, the program brings about $35,000 through the county that goes out from the state to local clubs. And we have most recently been eligible for 10% admin fees for that, which we are working to collect from the state. So does anyone have general snowmobile trail grant program questions?
Rich?
Yeah, since they're riding on frozen ground, are there really any negative environmental consequences? It seems like it would be really minor.
Yeah, you'll see through, we did our due diligence and really dug into the seeker materials here that you'll see. But any concerns, the major concerns when we dug into it were perennial stream crossings. because you'd have to go down and back up. But they're using all existing infrastructure for that. So
Okay.
bridges that already exist or farm laneways that have already been piped, et cetera.
Thanks.
Amanda?
So because this is a pass-through, like, we kind of have to pass these, like.
So what I would say is, the reminder is this is for the environmental review, and as Rich mentioned, there isn't much there.
Right.
This is not about the
Whether
trails
they get-
themselves, it's
yeah.
about the environmental review of the reroutes. If the committee would like to further discuss our participation in the program, that is something
Right,
we're happy to do. But that is not
what this is
what we
about.
have the power to do in this situation.
And just in the memo and the notes, it looks like, there, I think they all say it will not require any construction, like, they're not gonna be building bridges or
Right.
digging new trails or anything like that.
Correct. And so the other piece that we've done, so yeah, we had great participation through the club. It's unfortunate they weren't able to make it. But they, as you can see in the documents, I worked with them to help them do the part one of the seeker. We walked through on an interactive kind of mapper like this, every single
Mm.
piece. We looked at the aerial. It's going on existing roads, it's crossing bridges, it's in right of way of roads. So nothing new is being created. And we also know that because they're not asking for money to do that as well. And so the one additional piece I'll note is for the districts where this is affected. So this is the Dryden Caroline Drifters. So it is in Mike Lane, Greg Mezey, and Dan Klein's districts. We worked with them earlier on in this process to notify them that these changes were happening, and worked to put together some additional information. So if folks are viewing this and would like to see on the Tompkins County webpage under the Planning and Sustainability Department, on the Community Planning page, there is a snowmobile trail grant program 2025 updates that shows these maps that are in the packet, but also links to this interactive mapper, which is much easier kind of to look at. So we put this together, you can type in your address, kind of see where it is near your house or some address, kind of follow those changes. And we provided language so that those folks could send that out to their constituents if there were any concerns, and let them know that it was coming to this committee here today.
Great, thank you.
And municipalities were notified. Right.
Yes.
Any other questions? So why don't we start with the resolutions? You ready for those?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 4 of them. And we probably want to move each one separately, right? So we'll start with resolution C. This is on packet page 19, making a negative determination of environmental significance in relation to the proposed reroutes to the Dryden Caroline Drifters C2B Snowmobile Trail, and this is ID 13604. Would someone like to move that one? Moved by Amanda, seconded by, I'm not sure, Veronica? Okay, any questions, discussion on this one? Is there anything we need to explain on this one beyond what you said?
Yeah, I think you'll see in the memo, but as we discussed, they're following in each of these, they're following existing infrastructure. In any concern where there is an environmental impact.
Yeah, so for each of the resolutions, there is a short environmental assessment form you'll see. And then with the first one, there is the memo on packet page 20. No questions, discussion? Okay, all those in favor of resolution C? That's unanimous. Thanks, everybody. Next up is on packet page 30. This is the resolution making a negative determination of environmental significance in relation to the proposed reroutes to the Dryden Caroline Drifters C2C Snowmobile Trail, ID 13605, moved by Amanda, seconded by Veronica. And any discussion on that one? Okay, all those in favor? That passes unanimously, easy for me to say. Next on packet page 40, making a negative determination of environmental significance in relation to the proposed reroutes to the Dryden Caroline Drifters S21 snowmobile trail. This is ID 13607, moved by Amanda, seconded by Rich. Any discussion on that one? Okay, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. And we have one more. This is on page 48. This resolution is making a negative determination of environmental significance in relation to the proposed establishment of the Dryden Caroline Drifters S25 snowmobile trail. ID 13608, moved by Amanda, seconded by Rich.
I will note that this is the one that is just slightly different. It is an establishment and not a reroute. This was an existing trail for many years that they lost due to landowner permissions. And once you lose a trail with New York State, the funding, they required you to submit it as a new trail. It is similar to the original trail, but will allow other funding in other counties because a requirement of the program is that they have access to like fuel and food.
So for existing, say for existing trails, I know even existing trails, they go and put signage up like right at the beginning of the season. Is there, do you know what else yearly maintenance that they do on the trails?
It's typically grooming, removing of the snow and removing of the brush. And if they need to put in any bridges or anything like that, but we haven't seen much of that. It's usually just the standard, just making sure it's safe and there aren't trees down.
Kind of like regular trails, like if a tree fell down or something. Trying to, okay. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous, and that is the last one of those. And anything else that you have for us, Abigail or Megan, from your department?
We just have a couple information only budget adjustments, small things at the end. And we heard from Katie late last week that she had successfully made it to Africa. So she'll see us all back in November with plenty of stories and photos.
Oh, great, great. Where is she going in Africa? Oh,
I think four different countries. So
Wow.
yeah.
great. Well, so we'll get to hear from her when she's out of Africa.
Yes.
One of my favorite movies. Okay. Thank you for coming. Anything else from anybody else from the planning? All right, well, thank you all for coming today, and you're welcome to stay or go. And then next up, we have Leo Riley from the Department of Recycling Materials Management. There's an information item or the capital summary. Anything you wanted to say on that, Leo, or give any general updates? And welcome, I should say. Sorry about that.
Well, I really don't. We're just still in the planning and design phase. We should have a bid proposal ready to go out around February for the capital project that's planned at Caswell and Hillview landfills.
And can you just refresh us on what the project is?
Yeah, so it's working on the leachate tanks, leachate collection tanks, an assessment of them, a cleaning of the tank. We're also installing remote monitoring where we don't have to go to the landfills to check the leachate levels in the tanks. We can do it remotely. That's going to be a real plus for us, save some time.
Yeah, that will be. Any questions for Leo? Anything else from your department, Leo?
I'll just mention real quick, we completed the waste characterization study. Ann did come over and view what we were doing, and I tried to get her suited up with some gloves and a gown and whatnot, but yeah, she elected just to watch from the side. So, but it was great that you came over. Also, we had some folks from our planning department come over that was interested in just viewing what was going on. So we're looking forward to getting that data from Stony Brook. And that data, I'm sure, will help us plan and kind of form, taking some of our programs forward, decisions on where we put our focus and what have you.
Yeah, that was really amazing to see the amount of different materials, whether it's recycling or garbage, the number of different things that people either think is, well, I won't presume why, but put into a recycling bin, or things that they could probably recycle that are put in garbage. So it'll be really useful when that data gets compiled and you went by different neighborhoods too. And so I think that'll be helpful to different areas around the
Yeah.
county.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the report. Again, so we're seeing losses of recyclable volumes, 300, 400 tons annually since about 2021. Some of that's justified through, I think I spoke about it before, but there's a term light weighting in recyclable commodities market. So everything's getting thinner, lighter, as far as packaging goes. But with that said, we specifically collected material from, say, multifamily homes, some of the mega complexes. That collection's done differently, is done with dumpsters versus a single family home setting a bin out at the curb, and that bin being able to be viewed by the collector. The large dumpsters makes it very difficult for a collector to determine what kind of contaminants might be in with the recycling. So, well, yeah, we're looking forward to that information, just again to drive our focus, where to look.
And another thing I was surprised to learn was that we have quite a number of, I don't know if it's mostly residences that have like dumpsters at their house. Not just putting a garbage can out, but an actual dumpster. And that makes it hard,
Yeah.
again, for the hauler to see if it's contaminated or if there was recycling in there that could have been
Yes,
brought out.
yeah. That's, it may be a problem, but again, we're gonna wait to see what kind of results we
Right.
have from that. But we're told from haulers, and again, they're not giving us any real factual report or anything, but upwards of 4,000 to 5,000 actual like commercial dumpsters being used at residential properties around the county. So, yeah, as you get driving around, see if you can notice any sitting out by the road. They most generally sit out by the road because of the large trucks having difficulties, driving on a residential driveway or over a sluiceway or something like that. Does a lot of damage to it, but yeah.
Yeah, there's two on my block out in the country. There's already two out there. So
Yeah.
yeah, probably hard for a number of reasons. So any questions for Leo? All right, well, thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
And congratulations to Kat.
Oh, yeah, I
I don't know
actually
if
meant
that's
to
something
mention
you want
that,
to
but yeah.
mention.
Yeah, I had her little boy a week ago this past Sunday.
So send her our congratulations.
We will, yeah.
And so next up, we have Roxanne Noble here. This is on packet page 58. So Roxanne is the director of the Tompkins County Airport, International Airport, I should say. And so we have a report discussion regarding the Sustainable Airport Master Plan. And we have CNS companies here to help us do an overview. But Roxanne, I'll let you take it away and introduce the folks, or however you want to do it.
Absolutely. Thank you. So thanks for having us here today. We wanted to kind of give a brief update of what's been happening. So I'm going to end up turning it over to Joni Steigerwald from CNS Companies. I've worked with Joni for many years. We worked together on the first ever sustainable airport master plan back in 2012, I believe. And her counterpart, Mia Held, she's from CNS Companies as well. So I'm going to let the experts do the talking and share a bunch of wonderful information with you.
Thank you, Roxanne. Roxanne always gives us a nice little intro. I'm Joni Steigerwald with CNS Companies, as she mentioned. I've been with CNS since 1998, long time now, but we are really appreciative to be here and share a little bit about what's going on at the airport with you guys. We were lucky enough to present to the Case Advisory Board a few weeks ago and had some great engagement and questions. So we just want to make sure you're in the know of what the airport is doing and how, there's a lot of work going on and a lot of work being put into this to make sure that we've got the right vision for the airport. But I'm going to introduce Mia as we get a little farther. I've got a few slides to share, and then I'll introduce Mia for her slides. But at this point, I'll share my screen if it lets me. Here we go. Can everybody see that okay?
We can see a screen. Oh, there you go. Yes, that
Okay.
looks great.
Perfect. So our master plan is our second sustainable airport master plan, as Roxanne spoke about the prior one that was the first in the nation. Mia will share a lot of good details about what we've done since then. But for your overview knowledge, I just kind of wanted to give you a little bit about what an airport master plan is. It is a 20-year plan. So we kicked it off last October. We've progressed quite well over the past year. Oh my gosh, it's been a year. But we are currently at a point where we're on hold due to some FAA review. So we kicked it off and started off with a public meeting. We shared some information with what we call a project advisory committee, a sustainability advisory committee. We had all those meetings back in the fall or in the spring. I apologize for that, but we were able to engage with the public and with some great stakeholders for that. After the kickoff, we get into what's called existing conditions, which is basically taking a look at everything on the airport field and looking at everything from pavement to nav aids to operations. We look at everything that they've got and what's present as of now. Beyond that, we get into what's called a forecast of aviation demand. And that is where we take the information and the data of everything that's been going on at the airport. We do a 10-year trend, looking back at what's happened over the 10 years and look at the growth rates and what has grown and not grown over those 10 years for enplanements, for operations. An operation is a takeoff or a landing. And then we look at also your based aircraft. So all the based aircraft that are there on the airfield. So that is where we are as far as this schedule shows. The forecast is then submitted to the FAA for approval. Everything that apologize, I got to move that off my screen. I didn't put a do not disturb on there. The forecast is the first step where the FAA has to give us approval to move forward. So they look at that forecast and base it on every projection we've made that we think is going to happen over the next 20 years, and then make sure it's a reasonable and rational forecast for the airport. And as well as the forecast part of the operations, they look at what we've presented as the critical aircraft. And that is what determines the layout of the airfield. So the critical aircraft is the most demanding aircraft, the largest, most demanding aircraft in use at the airport. And that dictates the design standards and guidance we use to plan for the projects and plan what the airfield needs. So where we are with that, so that's where we are as far as the STAR. We're waiting on that FAA approval. But in the meantime, we've done a lot of different things. We've worked on the sustainability efforts that Mia will share with you. We've been able to complete the environmental overview, which is wrapping up with our QC efforts shortly. And then moving forward, what we will do is once we get that approval, we'll look at the facility requirements where we determine what gaps are there. So if there are needs for the airport based on what the forecast dictates, we will make sure that we provide the right standards to move forward and have the right facility requirements, that being hangar space, runway length, all the things that the FAA guides us on with these design standards. Beyond that, we get into what we call an alternatives development, and that is where we look at what alternatives we should present in this full plan. So if we need to add hangars, if we need to extend runways, and I'm using these as just general terms. We haven't done any of this yet. But that alternative scenarios is where we determine what the airport's going to need over the next 20 years. Then we get into what is called a development plan. So we phase it out in 3 different phases. We'll have an early term, midterm, and then a longer term for those projects. We also provide what general planning level costs would be and where the funding availability might be. That's provided in this report. And then along the way, we will have some more public workshops. We've had a few engagements that we'll share with you, but we are planning 2 more big public workshops as well as committee meetings to engage some of our committees into that. The only thing that I'm not showing on this slide that we do have working in concurrently with the master plan is an energy audit. So that will kick off this month. We've just gotten the grant funding for that, and it's been executed. So we'll be kicking off an energy audit of all the facilities at the airport. So we'll have more details about ways to help and save energy and be more efficient. I'm going to kick things over to Mia, but before I do that, I just wanted to say if you have any questions about the master plan process, I'm happy to answer that now, or we can wait till the end, whatever everybody's comfortable with.
I just wanted to say thanks. I'm assuming you helped us get that grant for the energy audit.
A little bit, yeah.
Thank you.
Our team works well together, yes.
So folks, just chime in if you have a quick question. Otherwise, we'll wait to the end. Okay, go ahead. Thanks, Joni.
You got it. So I'm going to hand it over to Mia. She is our sustainability lead on the project, and they've been very busy, so I will kick it off to her and she can fill you in.
Yeah, thank you, Joni. I appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. As Joni said, my name is Mia Held, and I'm leading the sustainability portion of the Ithaca Airport Master Plan. So as Joni mentioned, Ithaca's was the very first Sustainable Airport Master Plan, or SAMP, that was done in 2012, and we were very proud to be a part of that as well. And that record setting and then that big milestone, that really continues. One of the first things the airport team told me was, we want to be the most sustainable airport in the country. How can we make it happen? And you've already made really great progress. So since the inception of the 2012 SAMP, a lot of really exciting things have happened. So the airport installed its geothermal well fields, which was a 16,000 square foot expansion as part of the terminal expansion. There was energy efficient lighting and HVAC installed at the airport, which increased energy efficiency. There were solar canopies, so PV canopies, installed in the terminal parking lot, which is, a source of renewable energy generation. EV charging stations were installed at the terminal, and the county started to require electric vehicles, reducing that reliance on fossil fuels. And then during this process, the natural gas moratorium kicked in for the town of Lansing, which further limited the ways that the airport could use natural gas and help to get the airport off of those non-renewable sources of energy. And then there were lots of ongoing efforts, lots of big things that have happened from 2012 to the present. So this current Sustainable Airport Master Plan process is going to answer the question of what's next. And we've been through a lot of the process thus far. So Joni mentioned the Sustainable Advisory Committee. We've held that meeting of that committee, which brings together stakeholders from all over Tompkins County, Ithaca, and neighboring communities. We had a first community meeting, which was really exciting. We had a lot of great representation and some good voices and concerns and questions that we heard from folks. And as Joni mentioned, that was just the first of a few community meetings that we hope to see you all at. We did some school outreach, which was really, really fun with Ithaca High School and Tompkins Portland Community College. So we went and we asked the students, what do you think about Ithaca Airport? How could we make the airport more sustainable? And that actually became part of a class project for the high school students, and generated some really good discussion amongst the college students, both on careers in aviation, careers as planners and engineers, but also bringing their experiences as college students traveling through the airport and what they thought we could move forward. We did a waste and recycling audit. We dug through the garbage at the airport and we looked at what is the amount of stuff that is being properly recycled versus thrown away, and how can we increase the diversion of recyclables away from landfills and come up with new and interesting ways to be renewable. And then lastly, we had most recently an internal sustainability charrette. So that's when we brought together the airport and some of its key stakeholders and asked the question, what is the vision that we want for the airport? Where do we want to be in terms of things like new technology, advanced air mobility, hydrogen fuels, things like that? So that was a really great conversation as well. And we collect all this data from all these different touch points and the touch points that are here upcoming. And we'll roll that into the goals and the recommendations that we set for the airport to help it become one of the most sustainable in the US, that overall goal. So that's all I have. But as Joni said, we are totally open to questions. And we hope that for those of you that might not have been aware of this process, that we'll see some of you at the upcoming engagement points here moving forward.
Thank you, Joni and Mia, for the presentation. Amanda has a question or a comment, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is great and helpful for me to understand all that's happening. My one question is about like on your little flow chart here, facilities requirements, and let's say you identify something like you need more hangars or the runway needs to be extended, like you know, just as an example. And the FAA says, yes, these are things that need to happen. And the county doesn't, you know, you said you would help identify funding sources, but those funding sources may not come through. The county may not have the funding to do those things. Once they're identified as necessary, if we don't do them, is that somehow a detriment to the airport, or will there be consequences? Am I saying,
Yeah, I think I'm following you. So one thing that I probably didn't emphasize enough is this master plan is really the FAA's tool for safety. Their first and foremost responsibility is to the safety of the public and safety of this airport. So we'll use the runway length analysis as an example. If the airport needed that runway to be extended, that's a safety concern, because that means that you have aircraft that are that large using your airport enough that it needs to be long enough for that aircraft to perform on the runway. I don't think that's going to happen in this case, because I think there is a good size aircraft, but we haven't gotten, or good size runway, but we haven't gotten to that yet. But what would happen if that were the case and we needed to extend your runway, the FAA pays 95% of that. 2% goes to the state, and 2.5, what am I doing the math wrong? 2.5, and then 2.5 would be your local responsibility. So there is a small responsibility for the county or for the airport for that, but ultimately it's funded through the Airport Improvement Program, the AIP, through the FAA.
Okay, that makes sense. So
yeah, and it would be safety. So another thing with the hangars, sorry to cut you off, I just want to continue my thought about, so the hangars, if you need more hangars, the FAA does not pay for hangars. So it would have to be covered through, sometimes there are state DOT grants. We work with the airport to try to find funding for that. But if it's something safety related, it's mostly covered.
Okay, no, that's great. So if it's a more of an optional thing or something that we just think would enhance the operation, that would not necessarily be funded, but it's
Yeah,
also required.
it is. And I'll reemphasize again, this plan, this master plan report really focuses on the needs of the airport. Um, I just lost my train of thought. I was bringing up a good point and I totally forgot what I was going to say, but it's really focused on it has to be justified. Everything has to be justified. So if we say they need this many hangars, it has to be justified by the approved forecast and they'll have to have full reason to approve that on that airport layout plan, the drawing itself. So there are a lot of steps along the way that we have to make sure, we're abiding by what the FAA's guidance is.
Thank you.
Sure.
And it looks like the projection is May 2026 that you'll have the final plan done.
That's a great question. Unfortunately, our schedule is lapsing a little bit because of the FAA review time. We submitted it, I think, in April, maybe May. Unfortunately, the FAA is very understaffed. We all know what's going on with the government right now, so that adds to our schedule a little bit because we really can't move forward. We've progressed as much as we can through this project, like Mia's sustainability charrette, things that we are able to move forward. We've been able to do that, but we're kind of at a point where we really need that forecast approval from the FAA. So it could extend longer than that. It's just kind of dependent on that approval.
That's understandable. Yes.
Sure.
What's going on?
We all feel it. Sure.
Any other questions or comments from the group? Anything else, Roxanne, that you wanted to say on the master plan?
I think that's great. It's great working with the team and as Mia had said that, this is something that's important, not only to myself, but to the team here as well, and to the community and Tompkins County. I think it's important to look at other ways and the best ways to do things and see how we can do it, and make the airport, more sustainable.
Yeah, this is really helpful, for us to have this, and I hope it gets approved. Is there for the FAA approval, do they sometimes do comments? Is it
Yes,
yes
it's
or
a
no?
process. Yeah,
Okay.
they'll have comments for me, but our forecast that we've presented to them is very, I don't want to say conservative because it's right, but it's within their the framework of what they see. So they have the FAA has their own forecast, and our forecast has to fall within 10% of that or 15% at certain levels, and we are. So I think we're on track with the right forecast. So it should be approved. They'll have comments, which they always do, but that's great. We like the engagement. So we'll keep moving forward with that, but. We're very used to the process as our, CNS, our consultants. We're used to it. We do this, at other airports. And so we know a lot of how the FAA offices work. We know how to work with them. So.
And one question I have is that, if legislators or other folks wanted to dive in deeper to see what was submitted, is there a way to do that? To look at forecasts and things like that?
Sure. I can walk anybody through the forecast as long, if Roxanne's comfortable with that, I'm happy to. I mean, it's draft at this point. So as long as there's that understanding, but sure.
Well, I'm not sure we have time today.
No, right. No, I'm just saying in the future, if somebody has questions, I'm happy to help. Yeah.
Yeah, and it might be, I guess I'll leave that up to which committee would make sense to do that, or the full legislature. So maybe Roxanne can be in touch with Dan and Greg and see. I mean, for folks here, I mean, I would be interested in seeing more information. Would other folks here like to see that at some point? Yeah, so at least for this committee, where there's four of the legislators here, but we're saying that we'd like to maybe see more information, but I'm just not sure what venue. So
No problem.
Thank you very much for this report. Roxanne, is there anything else from the airport you wanted to talk about today while we have you here?
I think I'm good for today, but thank you for checking. And I appreciate you guys and I appreciate the time on the agenda today. I know you had a full agenda, but we just want to really keep everybody up to date and giving information that we can. So
Yeah, thank you. I think it wouldn't hurt to maybe send an email out, if you don't mind, Roxanne, about, this presentation and any other links to more information, on this to the legislators. I think that would be helpful. So this is really great. So thank you, Joni and Mia, for coming today and giving us all
Thank-
this information you've been working on.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for having
having us, and we'll see you at the next public workshop. How about that?
Yes.
thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you very much. And next up on our agenda, we, regarding advisory boards, we have a resolution. This is packet page 61. This is for the case board. This is a resolution in support of the Climate and Sustainable Energy Advisory Board bylaws, ID 13622. So we'll get this on the floor. Amanda moves, Rich seconded. And Veronica, did you want to say a little bit about this?
Sure, just briefly, these are updates to existing bylaws that for the most part are clarifying things and correcting language and in general bringing the bylaws more in line with the what do you call it? This is part of the larger ongoing project of bringing all advisory board bylaws to be more
Conforming to the
conforming.
standard.
Thank you. Yes.
To the county standard, right?
Which previously they were not because there was no standard, I think. And so this is cases. It does not make major changes to the structure of the board. I think it staggers the terms is one new thing.
Amanda?
Yeah, so is this this is an update to the bylaws? Or I guess, well, one thing I just, the title feels wrong to me. I'm not sure, shouldn't it just say resolution updating the climate and sustainability blah, blah, blah bylaws? Or establishing or approving or,
Well, if I could interject here, they were recently put as a permanent board. So is it that these are their first bylaws as a permanent board, Taylor?
Establishing.
okay, so maybe establishing,
Okay,
resolution establishing the case advisory board bylaws.
so they had, but did they have something before? So yeah,
They've had bylaws since their first existence, it looks like.
as a temporary board.
Yes, from 2019.
So let's see. So how would we want to word this? First line is that they were recently established as a permanent advisory board.
I mean, it could be updating or yeah.
Do you have any advice?
Do you want to put it on the floor first?
I think it is on the,
It is on the floor.
Did we?
yeah.
Yeah, I think I
It was,
moved it.
Amanda moved it.
My apologies, I do have that written.
Yeah, and Rich
Do you want
seconded
to,
it.
these are just gonna all be considered one amendment?
It's just the bylaws.
Well, if we were going to change adjust the resolution, do we want to make an amendment? But I think we're just kind of wondering, before we kind of even make an amendment, so you're wondering about
I'm just-
restructuring the title?
Yeah, I'm just talking about changing the title to be more clear about what we're doing. Are we establishing bylaws? Are we updating bylaws?
Revised.
Revising bylaws? So they had,
A quick search in the meeting portal finds all sorts of other resolutions that are called things like approval of amended bylaws, name of board.
right, approval, that works too.
Did a revise seems appropriate?
Approval of revised Climate and Sustainable Energy Advisory Board bylaws.
I think approval is the right word because we don't, then it would cover whether it's new or revised.
Okay,
So
approval.
this is for the title?
Yep.
So go ahead, can you read?
Approval of,
So it wouldn't say resolution?
approval of revised Climate and Sustainable Energy Advisory Board bylaws.
Yeah, it could say resolution approving the Climate and Sustainable Energy Advisory Board bylaws.
That's
I find
fine
that
too.
change friendly.
Do you have that?
So yep, approval of,
Can you get into the
Revised.
mic and read that?
Sorry.
Thanks.
approval of revised Climate and Sustainable Energy Case Advisory Board bylaws for the title.
Do we need to have the word resolution in there?
No.
No,
Because it's a resolution, right?
It is a
So
resolution.
Say
Most of our
resolution.
resolutions do not have the word resolution. in them.
Resolution.
yes, I think the title was just,
resolved, as long as it says what's resolved, it's fine.
Okay,
I'm guessing that this language came from the case board and they were presenting a resolution in support. So,
that's a good point.
you
that
know,
they
we
did
can
that.
just adjust that to make
Mhm.
a little more sense for
And that-
us.
And that was friendly to the first and seconder.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. before.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And,
Great.
and, sorry,
Mhm.
and then I don't know if you can answer this, Taylor, but from, just for me reading it, it looks like it hits the marks of the things that we were trying to get all the bylaws to meet the same, you know, definition of quorum, but I'm just confirming that with you, that this fits with that standard.
Yes, to my knowledge, all advisory boards went through a process that took them through the ledge office, staff, and then also Maury before
Okay.
it came to the floor.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, I can attest that was very extensive. So thank you to Maury and the clerks. This one went through a couple times to make sure.
Mostly the clerks.
Great.
Any other questions, suggestions? Comments? Okay, so all of those in favor of the approval of the revised case board bylaws? That passes unanimously. Thanks, everybody. And thanks to the case board for spending a lot of time. I know a lot of us are liaison to these boards, and Veronica's the liaison to this board. And I know that often the boards have taken a lot of time to go through this and revise their board bylaws. So thank you to the case board members. And let's see. Next up, we have a chair's report, and under that, we have a report discussion on land use regulation of biosolids sewage sludge, which is not easy for me to say. And so this is something that we've been mentioning for a while, and we are lucky to have Kate Darfler here, the chair of the Environmental Management Council. Hi, Kate. And to give us an update, there's been a lot of work that Kate and some other folks, many other folks have been doing behind the scenes. And thanks to Maury too for advising us. So Kate, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, thank you. I'll try to be brief on this. I just wanted to update you all. You don't have a resolution in front of you because the EMC passed it on Thursday and it didn't get in time for your packet today. However, you will see it at your next meeting, but I thought I would just take a brief moment to talk about our process a little bit and where we came to on a potential moratorium. And this started with us pulling in, the EMC pulled in members from the Water Resources Council. Cynthia Brock was a kind of a lead author with us on this. Then we also tagged in, I can't even tell you the number of people that we brought into the conversations, but everyone from the Ag and Farmland Protection Board, from Tompkins County Whole Health, Leo is there from Solid Waste and Recycling. We tagged in people from Cornell, from QIO, from the Soil Now at Cornell, and definitely Maury has been in here as well. So a lot of folks have come together to kind of figure out what was the best course of action for the county to take. And that I feel like is a specific thing because the county, where they sit in the process for any biosolids spreading is different than I kind of anticipated. And so in the discovery process and the interviewing and talking to people and talking with DEC even, found out that the county doesn't currently have a role in any of the permitting process for the spreading of Class B biosolids. And so that was the place that we were sort of putting our piece of the moratorium on, was thinking we could stop that. And so since we don't, the EMC has shifted to, and it really needs to be done at the state level because that permitting process takes place at the state level. And so the pieces that we thought were legally defensible for the county to take on, we're basically pushing a lot of this to the state and asking for the state to take action. And so the resolution focuses on supporting state that are bills that the state is looking at, and then also pushing the DEC to update their regulations that they give. These are regulations that are kind of temporary while they're waiting for PFAS legislation, PFAS thresholds and guidance documents to get finalized. And so it's pushing for those things. And then the one piece that we're still waiting on, and I know Maury and Leo are going to be working with us on this, the EMC kind of passed it knowing that this last piece was going to come together, was what the county could do is maybe around the way that haulers are permitted in the county, or maybe through the solid waste management plan. Currently, biosolids are not included in the solid waste management plan, so maybe that's something we want to look at. So that little piece, we're waiting on Maury and Leo, and maybe I can let them speak to it. But right now, a bunch of the boards are actually taking a resolution, either writing letters of support or proposing their own kind of version or take on this resolution, which you guys have for. But I'm happy to answer questions about why we specifically aren't doing moratorium like other counties are and where that conversation went. But I wanted just to come before you and talk about it before you have the resolution.
Thanks, Kate. And I'd like to add that other counties have passed moratorium in New York State. And the research that was done, which I would say, I don't know if it was more than other municipalities did, but it was very, very thorough. And it doesn't appear that we have any standing right now to regulate it. But we have Maury here and to talk about that. And so I'll let Maury and Leo chime in on any parts of that. About transportation, legally, do we have, the ability to do that? And then one other topic that came up was, do we have any authority to regulate where the biosolids go from wastewater treatment plants in the county? So that's another thing. So, and then did you want to ask your question before that to add into this, Rich? Or
I can ask now or later, doesn't matter. Whatever you like.
Why don't you go ahead?
Kate, my recollection is when we were last discussing this, the question arose, is it happening? Do we have any more information on that?
Yeah, so we have determined that it is Class B, which is the less refined stuff that would have to have a permit through the DEC, is not currently happening in Tompkins County. But that is that permitting process that's at the DEC level. However, the Class A products, which are those further refined products, are definitely getting into our commercial streams, but we have no way of knowing any of it.
Getting into the commercial streams, so you had indicated that a farmer could be using this method, but it's also stuff you'd go down to a farm supply store and buy for your backyard. Do you think it's happening in both or one of them?
The farmland one, as long as for the Class B, which would be the permitting, those are not happening. But we have no way of knowing where any biosolids are getting into commercial products. And so that's like a further thing that the state's going to have to kind of take action on as far as regulating where, the disclosure of when you use biosolids in a different product. And just so there's no way for us to regulate that because we don't know where these products are essentially.
Okay.
But for sure, the Class B is not happening in Tompkins County.
Okay.
And hasn't for a long time. Yeah.
Question for Maury. How do you think some other counties are doing moratoriums? Are they just kind of doing it?
I think they're just kind of doing it because
Okay.
there is, there have been decisions where Ag and Markets has challenged moratoriums, or at least a moratorium, as having unduly infringed upon the economic operation of farmers, and prevailed. On the moratoriums that have been adopted are way too short term to actually do the studies that are discussed within the moratoriums. For example, Schoharie County did a 90-day moratorium. It's virtually impossible to study some of these impacts within a 5-year moratorium, let alone a 90-day moratorium, which was part of the reason why we switched over, and also because the Class B permitting, if any, is done through DEC, we can't really regulate what DEC does. In terms of what we can do with respect to permitting haulers and so forth, I think permitting is a bigger issue, but we do have many ways we can track what's happening with biosolids, and I think that's what Leo and I would be focusing on, is how to tune up and articulate what things we can track. Does
Leo,
that make sense?
Leo, did you want anything about transportation that you're gonna try and look into?
Well, what came to mind when we met with Kate was the question kind of came up, the question that Rich asked, is there any land application currently going on? I think all of us kind of assumed there was not, but I don't know if we knew it for a fact. When we drafted the solid waste management plan in 2022 with 2021's numbers at that time, there wasn't any land application from the roughly, I believe, 7 generators in the county. So what came to mind was we require solid waste haulers to license themselves, Article 3, Chapter 140 law. And by doing that, they're
Can you just
obligated.
clarify, license themselves?
No,
Or to be licensed?
To be licensed with the county. So
Okay.
it's Chapter 140, Article 3, hauler licensing. So they have to work with us. We issue them a license to collect solid waste in Tompkins County. As part of that license, they're required to submit an annual report to us on any volumes collected that's generated within the county and the destination facilities to which that material goes. So we receive a certain amount of waste at our facility on Commercial Ave, but they're not required, haulers are not required to bring it to a county facility. So they can take it landfill direct or, so Ontario County. So we don't know necessarily where that goes until we receive the annual report. So that's what came to my mind as far as at least knowing, what's going on an annual basis.
And so right now, we don't, as far as like wastewater treatment plants, we don't know if we can require them to do a certain thing with them, like to bring them to a landfill or.
Not the plant itself, but if the hauler picks up the waste at the plant, we would know where it goes.
Right.
We would know where it goes, but we can't, as far as we know right now too, doesn't look like a mechanism that we can say, you have to bring it to another landfill. They're just bringing it somewhere, right? Darby, who has also been helping on this too.
Been in on this too. I did find, and I can send you guys the link, that for land application of multiple varieties, biosolids, or just septage, there is a website, interactive map that the state does keep because it is permitted. There's a permitting side of things and a regulated side of things. So those, so the properties that are receiving biosolids and have land application, they are regulated and they do have to report to DEC. So that is shown on a map. So that side of things
Okay.
is like a different way to track it. And so if you look at the map, there is not anything spread in Tompkins County. But there are things like the porta pot haulers, they're able to do land spreading kind of in a different way than like a wastewater treatment facility. And there are facilities like that, land spreading in other parts of the area, not in Tompkins County. So I can send you guys the link of just how you can find where those locations are.
So they're able to do
Anyone's
it.
curious. I felt like
Mhm.
that was missing as part of the conversation we've had so far. I don't know, Kate, if you agree with that. It just was kind of eye-opening to be like, oh yeah, DEC is regulating this and is mapping it and it's publicly available.
Yeah, and it would, so that's a good point to, of information to have in there. I know, I will say, we could have a couple of hours probably to try and go down and talk about all the rabbit holes you guys have gone into to try and work on this and the different folks, the different experts and advice and trying all this. So this is a summary. Rich?
Yeah, Kate, did you indicate you'd be coming to us with a resolution?
Yeah, at your next meeting. We just didn't get it in time for your agenda packet, but yeah, you'll have it at your next meeting.
And
Okay.
we wanted the Water Resources Council to take a look at it too.
Yeah.
I, for one, would welcome that coming to us, so we'd have something to actually consider and perhaps pass.
Yeah. Yes, it's with a few tweaks and the last little bit from Maury and Leo, it will be ready for you guys at your next meeting.
Any other questions?
I do like how some counties have just passed moratoriums. I'm reminded of something my mother might have said, if the other counties are jumping in the lake, does that mean your county jumps?
But now that we know, now ignorance was maybe bliss, but we have some really smart, dedicated people here who looked into this for us. Leo?
I was just gonna say, I have a meeting set up with Westlaw tomorrow at 10:30. Just to kind of explore, feasibility of incorporating biosolids and under our hauler licensing law, I guess, just to see if there's any complications with that at
I could
all.
be there.
Pardon me?
I could be there.
Okay, we'll send you the link. I think it's a virtual one.
Yeah, I'm thinking even if we can't regulate.
You get a little
maybe-
closer to the mic,
Yeah.
Cory.
Maybe what we could include in the resolution is kind of, a report based on the data sources that are available that would be made at some interval. It sounds like it would probably be annual because some of the data doesn't get back to us on an annual basis, but we could sort of say what the sources are, and that we'll report on them. I'm not sure who I'm creating work for, but that, we would have some sort of annual report as to what's happening with stuff in Tompkins County.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with knowing the volumes and destination facilities for sure.
And the last thing I just wanted to note, which we didn't talk about, is that there are a bunch of resolutions floating around, and TCOG unanimously passed one in support of a biosolids moratorium. That was prior to kind of building on some of this research that we had done, but there is a widespread support for action on this topic.
Yes, I think, I can't remember if we mentioned that before talking about it, but, and this is really unusual. I mean, going back to, I think fracking was, I'm not even sure if we had this much support, but it's amazing where often you'll have like certain advisory boards or certain groups, and it was everybody that we talked to, every group was on board about us trying to do something because they see the danger. And yes, TCOG did pass a resolution in support of us banning it, all classes of it, including, anything sold at stores or being spread. And so unfortunately, we're unable to do that. So that was a big letdown. I talked with Kate one day about it, and there's a lot of work going towards that, and it's too bad that we can't. Darby, do you want to add anything else while you're here? Okay.
Sure. The Water Resources Council will consider something at their meeting next Monday. Today at 4 o'clock, one of the committees, the monitoring partnership, is going to look at the resolution. And I think we'll just probably do it as a letter since there is a resolution coming from EMC. So we'll just kind of reiterate the points and kind of put it in the form of a letter and probably just even address that straight to the governor. But we can hold off on actually sending that till we see what the legislature does.
Okay. And then Kate, we'll coordinate with Leo and Maury about adding something about monitoring then for the solids that are getting hauled. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. And also departments, there's a number of departments with our county attorney, recycling materials management, our planning department, our whole health department. I can't remember if we pulled in administration at all. Maybe we didn't have to have you folks chime in on this, but so many departments throughout the county. So it was really, a real collaboration. So thanks, everybody, to help get us where we are so far. Anything else before we wrap up this? So thank you very much, Kate. Appreciate it. Please extend all our thanks to everybody who's working on this, and we'll be seeing you at the next meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And last, are any member reports before we go into executive session? Okay, and I know some folks are going to be staying for this. So this is, would someone like to move us to go into executive session for the purpose of having discussions regarding proposed, pending, or current litigations specific to the NYSEG rate case? Amanda moves it. Veronica seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? Going into executive session. Thank you. And we'll take a couple minutes to go turn off the video, and we won't have, we already passed the minutes, so we won't have any votes or any committee work after this.